Have you ever completed a page in your art journal that you have completely fallen in love with? In fact, it's your favourite page in your whole journal and then accidentally destroyed it. That is what happened to me. I am genuinely heartbroken. So we need to fix this catastrophe. Let's have a look at why it happened. Let's try and fix it and stop it from happening again in the future. Okay, so here's my offending page, and the thing I have an issue with is all of these blue splooches. I realise it might not look that bad, but to me I'm heartbroken because I was loving the pink and green vibes and the Glinnda vibes, and I was just heartbroken. I just didn't like it with the blue spots, and sometimes art is there's a lot of emotion and feelings that go into it. It's not just about the finished piece, and it bothered me, so we needed to fix it. Now, one of the reasons that we had issues in the first place is because I failed to swatch brushes. All the other mediums that I have used so far, I have swatched, and so I knew it would not leak through. And this paper has been amazing, and nothing that I have thrown at it has ever leaked through, so I was really confident. Confidence misplaced. So first lesson learnt, always swatch so that you know what will occur when you use a certain product. So I had not yet swatched brushes, so we add that to the back, and now I have a reference, and I will know in future not to put brushes behind my favourite page. Now, I could have started completely again, but colouring takes a long time, so I tried to preserve my little ice queen. I think she was called a snow queen. She's a free digi. I will link her in the description box below in case you fancy playing and having a go, because she is gorgeous. But I decided to try and save her, so I started off with a palette knife to get underneath there, a little flick of my head there because that took a lot of concentration to try and get this without kind of folding the card. But I managed it, and there she is, completely removed. Now, I decided just to completely redo this page. There was no way I was going to get rid of that blue. Brushes are amazing product, but they are so highly pigmented. Once it is there, you aren't going to move it. So I'm just going to have to deal with the fact it's there. And I decided the best way for me to move forward was to completely change that page, go in a completely different direction, and that I would remake my favourite page a bit later. So I took out this rice paper from Stamperia, and I cut round it. By cutting round it, I mean that if you dampen it slightly with a wet brush, it sort of tears. And I actually much prefer tearing rice paper because it ends up with this sort of beautiful feathery edge which just blends magically into the page. Whereas if you cut it, you end up with a harsh line and it's not nearly as pretty. So we stick her down. I sort of also tore it in half a little bit. Created some sort of weird amputation, but that was because I wanted to put her across 2 pages. Now you can see how beautifully transparent rice paper is because that blue has come right through her dress, and I made the mistake of just sticking her right down and immediately saw that she was going to have a great big blue spot in her face. So I just pulled that back, add a little bit of gesso to her face, so we've whited that out, and it means when I stick her back down now, she does not have a big blue splooch on her face. Much prettier. So we get all of this down with gel medium. I wasn't particularly thrilled with how this had all sort of pieced together. So what I did was I got out even more rice paper and started patching elements together. So we end up taking a little bit of roses out of the same paper, and again that is actually gel medium that I'm using. It will dry clear. It looks white, but it will dry clear. You can see it looks clear as I put it on the top there. So we add a few roses there to bulk out her dress. I think it looks much better like that. And then I add a little bit of this other paper which has got a real Chinesey vibe. So we've got like script and a little bit of blossom, and I just sort of build this up and blend it into the page. Once that is all done, I sort of try and get it to blend into the page a bit further. I wasn't happy with how grey the papers looked in comparison with the brighter background, so I grabbed a little bit of gesso with my finger and just sort of tried to blend the areas of the rice paper into the background and white it out a little bit, so Yeah, that kind of worked quite well. To be honest, this was one of these pages that I kind of worked and worked at and had to step away from for a while. But at this stage, I was sort of doggedly trying, I will make it work, I will make it work. So we kind of blend it all with gesso. We've done that quite repeatedly. And then once I have done that, I then go over the whole thing with clear gesso because I know I want to come in with paints and sort of tie it together even further, but you tend to find that the rice paper will absorb paints in a really weird way. So this just helps to unify the surface. So then I come in with my Kuretake Ganzi Tambis. These are the gorgeous Art Nouveau set, which I thought went beautifully with this image. And I'm sort of extending the colours of her dress and sort of pulling them out. And then I also add a little bit of blue in the top so that we've kind of got the essence of a sky almost. And again, sort of just pulling out colour, kept playing, and really just was not loving this page. I think it was just upset. So I walked away. This is the next day. I know that amazing blended transition, it was instantaneous, but I had slept on it overnight and I decided because the background looked quite painterly that I needed to go over the actual image with paints as well. So I went for my Artex markers. They worked okay-ish for me today. I have a love-hate relationship with these things. They're absolutely brilliant. I love the colours. I wish they would just work perfectly because they would be my favourite thing in the world. But sometimes they just, I don't know, they seem to act almost dry. So I added paint on. I've added paint onto her face and her arm, and it's only as I was editing this I realised that I never actually added paint to her other arm. So now it looks like she's got some sort of weird form of leprosy because she's got a nice orange arm on one side and then a really white arm on the other side. But let's just call it art. We'll forget to mention that part. I was liking the painterly look. I thought it was looking better. So I pulled out a white pen just to sort of push that even further. So we've got a white gel pen, really emphasising those roses in her dress. I do a lot of squiggles around the edge of her dress to sort of give it a lacy feel and make it feel, yeah, like it's a big fluffy dress with lots and lots of details. I'd also added little dots around the edge of her dress. I think all of this gave it a lot more movement. This is still not my most favouriteest page in the world, but it doesn't distress me like the blue dots on my beautiful Glinnda. That just distressed me. So this is okay. It's a page. It tells a story. It tells a story of the fact that I came in and created a new art page to hide my disgust of what I had done to my favouriteest page. So just finally added a few different sentiments from a Tim Holtz collection. It was lifting up a little bit because of all the mediums, but I just went in with a bit of glue and stuck it down properly. And then that is this page all done. And so we move on to the next page. This is the offending page, the page that caused me so much distress, where I was just merrily spraying brushes everywhere and squirting it with water with reckless abandonment, not realising that it was causing such destruction on the other side. Honestly, I was heartbroken when I realised. So anyway, I've decided to forgive it, to overcome this upset and show it some love and to turn it into something beautiful. And I have decided to go with the Under the Sea theme, not only because it matched the page on the opposite perfectly, so it makes a beautiful two-page spread, but because I really wanted to create something using axolotls, because I've just learned very, very recently that those little gorgeous flappy things on the side of their face are actually axolotl lungs. How cute is that? That's got to be the most bizarrest and best anatomy ever. Absolutely love the idea of that. So the inspiration of this entire page is completely just because I wanted to share with somebody that I had learned that axolotls' lungs live on the side of their faces. It is just so cute. It's just elevated their cuteness even more. So I have just taken all of these images. These are pre-coloured digital images from my Aquatic Adventures collection. It's adorable. It's a huge collection. So I have just like printed out a whole load of stuff. I've printed out some of the seaweed pages and the coral pages, obviously my little axolotls, the shell page, did a whole bunch of fussy cutting, and then just had lots of gorgeous elements that I could arrange to my heart's content. So I am doing all of this and sticking it all down, creating a little bit of a picture. I like this because it totally matches with the page on the other side, but it still looks like its own individual page. Me being me, we need to shadow to make those images pop. So I've once again taken out the same Kuretake Gansey Tambi paint. They've just got such gorgeous sort of muted colours in this particular set. This is the Art Nouveau set. All details will be linked below if you want to have a little look at them. And I have just created a little bit of shadow around the lower axolotl and then a little bit just around the top. And I've also allowed the watercolour to bleed over the images slightly, but that is good because there will be some sort of reflection. They will take on the colours of the sea around them. And then I decided to pull in a circle stencil, and once again my Artex markers. I've gone for a very sort of pale greeny blue, and I'm just adding a few circles and putting some in the background but also some over some of the images, and it has just created this gorgeous bubble effect, like these bubbles are kind of going up in front of them, and I think that really adds to it and just adds a lot of interest, and I really love that effect. It's definitely an effect I am going to be trying again. And then finally, it being me, we add a doodly border. I really believe in doodly borders, or a border of any sort. What you are doing with a border is telling the brain to look inside the space. So we've now kind of created two pictures side by side instead of one complete scene. And I just, yeah, everything frames it and looks better. And then finally, we add a little sentiment to the page, and again this is part of the kit as well, and I think it says like dream higher than skies and deeper than the ocean, something like that. So we put that in, and that is that page done as well. I'm still not quite ready to recreate my destroyed page, because as you will see as we turn over the page now, there are still a few remnants of, yes, you can guess it, blue splooches from the other side of the page. So I need to fill up this, and I've decided to do some negative painting. The paint in that massive palette there is actually some of the Kuretake granulating paint. I had put it in such a huge thing because I wanted to see how the colours separated when it was dry. It was all for this amazing product video that I was going to do that never actually got as far as making it to the channel. And also that palette is absolutely huge, and it was taking up room in my craft space, so I was like, good opportunity, I'm going to use it up now so that I can get that palette cleaned off, because I also can't bear to waste the paint, and get that palette cleaned off, and then I can put it away, and yeah, it'd be good. So I started off with a full wash everything because I didn't want anything completely white, and the idea is that you sort of start off with some sort of drawing or shape, which I've gone for leaves, and you kind of keep painting the background. So I drew in the original leaves, then painted around them, then I drew in some more, and then you paint not only around those ones but around the original negative space, and you just sort of keep going. If you want to see a really cool way of doing this and probably see it explained much better and a much prettier and more effective result, the lovely creative Paula has done it on her channel, so I will pop a link to her video. It's in one of her sketchbook idea videos. But yeah, basically you just kind of keep painting the shadow areas over and over again, and then you get a variety of depth of colour in your particular page as you do it. It was actually a very mindful process. I did enjoy it. I did sort of get lost in the process. I really think I will try this again. You can see me once again coming in and deepening the shadows there. You just kind of keep going and keep going. Also, you can tell I'm really concentrating because my head is just sort of popping into the page there. And yeah, it's a really mindful process, and it's a bit like one of those ones you get lost into, you know, a bit like diamond painting or crochet or knitting. It's just very repetitive and you get lost in it, and it is really good for, yeah, just for being in the moment, enjoying your art, enjoying the creativity. This was a very new technique to me, so it did kind of take me a little while to get my head around it, but I am glad that I had a play. I don't think you can see the effects of the granulating paint overly well in this painting. I think on the right hand side you can just about see there that the colour is breaking, that you've kind of got a little bit of that gorgeous amethyst, and then there's a slight blue teal underneath it. So definitely need to play with these paints more as well, because granulating paints are gorgeous, and I do love the fact that they burst into different colours, but I'm not sure that I've given them the best opportunity for creative play in this. I thought they would, because there'd be lots of large washes of them, but yeah, it's good how it has turned out. Also, I'm also using a watercolor pencil with my sketches. I do find that's a really good idea because what it does is it blends into the painting when you start to add extra watercolor around it. I tend to find that if I use a HP pencil that I end up with scratches, even if I do all the techniques that you're supposed to do, like kind of lift it with a kneaded rubber and all of this sort of stuff. I still just find it looks a little bit scratchy, and especially on this paper, because this is handmade paper, I just didn't think I would like that. But I always go for a pale watercolor pencil. Now at this point I quite liked it, but I wasn't loving it. This is how, if you were doing negative painting, you would leave it. This is the proper way to do it, but I wasn't loving it, so I decided to just keep going till I did love it. So I've come in with my black pen after I've done my doodly border, and I'm scribbling around each of the leaves, and I did like the extra definition that gave it. I was also sort of giving it a couple of swirls as well, just to kind of lift it a little bit, and I definitely much preferred it once we had that doodly edge. And it's very free. I'm holding the pen really high up. It's not close, so it's very scribbly. It doesn't perfectly go outside the lines, but it just gives it a little bit of something. As I said, this is a technique that I will have to practice more, but I like how it turned out. I also then came in with a white pen and again went over all the leaves with that same scribbly technique that I did with black, but I also did loads and loads and loads of dotting in the background and also created little star shapes as I went. And once I had done that, I much preferred it. So that's it all finished. Not my favourite page in the world, but I enjoyed exploring a new technique. I want to try it again, and yeah, I think it's okay as a page. Now finally we are going to redo the original painting that got destroyed. So once again I am coming in with Kuretake Ganzi Tambi. This is another paint palette. It's slightly smaller, but I like the pink in it. It works very well for my whole Glinnda theme. That strange thing that I'm painting around is actually the top of my Scentsy, and the wax, it's a gorgeous scent. I think it's lemon and something or other. So I paint around that. Again, I learned from last time. Last time I tried to do it with pencil marks and it kind of didn't really work for me, so I've kind of gone in with paint. I also decided I didn't want that circle there, and the good thing about watercolour is if you actually just add more water and then dab away, it's almost like you can erase it. So never worry too much about making mistakes with watercolour. It's normally very easy to move. So I'm kind of coming in with lots and lots of circles, just building this up. It was funny because I absolutely loved the other page so much, and as I was doing this I couldn't get an arrangement of circles that I liked, and I was like, oh my goodness, I'm going to recreate this page. I'm going to not like it as much as the one I've done before, and the whole thing's going to be a disaster. So I wasn't feeling overly positive. Changing my mind about this circle again. So once again, coming in with water to lift it, and then taking it off with my rag so that we no longer see the circle. And I like that arrangement slightly better. Now I'm working to make these a bit more looking like bubbles. So we add a little bit more colour, kind of, so we've got lines and then wash it out. And then I'm also adding just the tiniest amount of blue and the tiniest amount of a pale yellow. And this just helps to give it that sort of really iridescent feel, so it does look like a little see-through bubble. And I'm just thinking of that scene in Wicked when she comes down in her bubble. Doing my favourite thing of adding splatters and spraying it. I let that dry, and then as you can see we have gone for yet more Kuretake paint. This is yet another palette. They're all getting a bit of an airing today. And I have gone in and I am painting a little yellow strip around the bottom, and yes, you guessed it, that is to represent the yellow brick road. That is a very vibrant yellow, so I then tried to knock it back with slightly different shades. And then I also come in with a variety of greens. I'm kind of thinking sort of like trees and things kind of coming from the yellow brick road, just to give it a bit of greenery. And last time when I did this, I really liked it, but it had something missing. But as soon as I sort of added a little bit of blue in for the sky, I liked it. So we added that again. Now, we managed to save this girl, thankfully, but there was a little bit of leakage on the back, so she did end up with a slight blue tinge to her face. So I do try and rectify that, first with pencils, which didn't do much, but then I kind of came out with my Artex markers in a nice flesh tone and sort of just kept building that up and dabbing it. So it was a nice soft look, and I did sort of get it away so that her face no longer looked blue, which is delightful because we don't want her to look bruised. Glinnda is just gorgeous, and I can't see her needing a big black eye. I don't think that would work. So finally, once she is all fixed, we stick her down with glue and pop her in her bubble where she belongs. And then I just kind of get to the finishing touches to make this look more like a road and grass. I'm just doing loads of dots with pinks, a variety of pinks and some whites so that it looks like flowers. I was just fixing a few bits there where it had all leaked a little bit with the blue, and then a few more pink splatters because I think the original had a lot more movement when it came to the actual pink splatters. So we added a few more, sprayed it, and this was it all done. I did just add a little bit of shading and then curved it so that she was grounded. I like to ground my images. So finally, just adding a doodly border. She is back, she is framed, she is back in all her glory. Oh, I'm so delighted. I feel happy again that she has been restored. I am also protecting her from future me, so I'm just putting a little bit of clear gesso on the back so that the next time I pull out this journal and create with creative abandonment, she will not be destroyed in the process. She's been protected by a layer of gesso. But there she is, she's back. I'm so happy. I'm so happy that I've got her back and I have the page that I love. But in the meantime, we did create some gorgeous pages. We have this one here with the ballerina. We have fixed the offensive page by turning it into a gorgeous under the sea world. And we have the one we have negative painting. And of course, Glinnda is back. If you would like to see how I created this and some other Wicked inspired pages, you may want to check out this video right here.